we get started, please know that the elementary Ignite session, both of these will be posted on the professional development website or page on our district website. So check that out to make sure you watch the elementary ones later on as well. So this Ignite session consists of 6 teachers who are proud to share something they have been doing in their classrooms. Each presenter will have about 3 minutes and a few slides in hopes to ignite your teaching. So I'd like to welcome up Liz Diamond, James Larson, Bridget Dotto, Jennifer Lahatsky, Kristen Ritchie, and Sue Butler.
Okay, so I've been working with something called Memrise. It's not an earth-shattering tool by any means, but it is something really fun that the students have enjoyed. 2 different quarters of 8th graders have really been into it. So I'm going to share 4 things about it that I really like and the reason why I wanted to share it with you today. First off is functionality. It kind of is like a mini LMS, so it's like kind of like a mini eChalk in a way, in that you can have text, video, audio explanations, and then students can kind of be tested on what they've just gone through. They can save as they go. You can follow them, so you can follow their progress. How are they doing? So that's one aspect. I really like that it has integrated priming, and it also reviews from previous sections, so that students are starting to get the words, vocabulary maybe that you're studying ahead of time, so that when they get to the words, it's not such a shock. Third thing would be easy differentiation and leveled learning. To me, this is the biggest one. Students can move at their own pace, and that includes moving ahead, assuming that you have set up you set it up to do so. Advanced students can actually add something called a mem, which is just usually a visual reminder, so that other students can use it as well. Finally, on that one, points are awarded for both accuracy and practice. So that means that slower learners don't feel punished. They can still earn a great amount of points to show that they're learning without feeling like, oh, well, I'm low on the totem pole because I only have so many points. That must mean I'm stupid. Last but not least, there is limited social interaction and motivation that comes along with that. It's enough that students are motivated without being distracted. They can follow each other, they can check each other's points. My 6th period class right now is having like the competition of the century. They're just like, Ms. Diamond, I practiced so much on this and I got onto the next level and I'm at 8,000 points. I'm like, you really need to just go do something else now. So there is a leaderboard, but in my class we're actually using it as a completer board. So like once everyone has earned 1,000 points, we'll celebrate everyone's learning on that. So that's Memrise in a nutshell. If you have more questions, please feel free to email me. And,
I'm a 8th grade science teacher, so the thought of using charts and graphs and numbers and decimals and all that stuff kind of gets me excited. But I understand that maybe you guys or your, especially our students, don't exactly think that's the bee's knees when it comes to learning on the computer. So what I've been working on this year with my fellow 8th grade science teacher, John Bertoletti, is incorporating the new design and engineering standards of the Common Core in science, which are lots of like hands-on, do it, build it, make it, design it, get it done kind of tasks. And with that, there's always kind of this lingering question of, well, what are we going to have the students prove they're learning through? A worksheet, a packet, random questions at the end, a quiz, a test, all those are kind of boring and we can do better. So what I've realized this year is that the program numbers can be used basically in any content area in a really unique way. You can open up a new numbers document, click on the top left corner of all of those little boxes, all those big grid of boxes that shows up, and hit delete. And it deletes all those little boxes that you normally have on an Excel document or a numbers document. And what you're left with is a blank canvas. And into that canvas, you can have students drag pictures, insert text boxes, where they answer questions and normal learning outcome type things. But you can also have them curate their own collection of artifacts throughout a learning goal. So our design challenges take a week. The students, they're doing sketches on paper with their design groups, but then they curate those artifacts by taking pictures of them with their mobile device, importing them into their design notebooks, and I make a template that shows, insert a picture here, answer these guiding questions here, next page, here's your conclusion, what went well, what didn't go well, give specific examples, put 3 pictures in here from your actual experience that you were building with your hands to prove that you learned a certain learning outcome. And then they take off. I mean, our middle school students are amazing at personalizing and customizing, and they basically curate their own learning. And so what you end up with is a 12-page design notebook cataloging from beginning, from inception, all the way through a conclusion, and then analyzing their own learning goals, how they work with their groups. And it's all through numbers. And if you look at this right here, you have pictures, you have photo timelines, you have backgrounds that they import from Google Images and to make it look nice and fancy. But really the core concept is that they're excited to make these, they're excited to curate these, and they're excited about making it individual from the other people sitting around them. So it keeps them engaged, and it can be done in pretty much any classroom. So if you have any questions about how to get this done, just talk to myself or John Bertoletti.
So my Ignite is about IXL, taking the classroom and going a little bit more paperless with our homework. IXL isn't maybe the most igniting, but it can be used very effectively. What I like about the program is that I can go through the different sections and see the standards, and then with the specific standards, math standards, they have specific skills that are attached to each one. I front load the students with the instructions so they know in advance all of the skills that they're going to have to master, and then they work through it kind of at their own pace. I have structured it in such a way that every week we have a student of the week, which can be monitored based on their progress, not necessarily on the time that they spent or the problems that they did, because anybody can sit and just click and put random answers in. So the students are rewarded each week. I update the pictures. After each Discovery Ed test, students get their feedback, and they go through and see which areas they could be working on. And then they go on IXL and navigate the website and find the skills that can specifically help them for their next test. The other one that is a little bit more exciting, I think, is Khan Academy. They have the same easy to navigate Common Core tabs so that the kids can go in there, find the skills or the standards that they specifically need to work on, watch the videos, and then do exercise sets. It's different than IXL in that they have to get 5 questions in a row correct to master the skill. You can input your students in here so that you can monitor their progress as well. With this particular program, you can see that bar graph there. A question mark above each one indicates that they took a hint, or if it shows like a little video icon, it shows that they took the time to watch a video if they were struggling with the skill. I like this one as well because you are getting the same emails that you get from IXL, and it's a lot less grading on the teacher's part, but then the kids can take the time to work through and struggle through the problem sets versus going home and doing a worksheet, which if you have 20 problems that you have to do and you don't understand any of them, you don't have any kind of interaction or feedback, the kids can go, and I've had parents say how much they like the program because they have a hard time with the math at the middle school level, and it's like really going back in time for them. And they said it's like having a teacher at home with them. So Khan Academy is a lot more application than just math. They obviously have a lot more, like the whole spectrum of information. It's always going to be free. So, check it out.
Hi, I want to talk a little bit about how my 7th grade science students use the technique in Cube to move to create models that are able to move. So going off of what James said also with the next generation science standards, there's about 1/3 of the standards that ask the students to develop and use a model. So I was longing for a way to do this simply and effectively on the computer instead of having my classroom full of styrofoam balls with the solar system or things like that. So in this technique, it's able to empower students to demonstrate the concept and rather just explain it. I found that they could tell me why the Earth has seasons because it's tilted towards the North Star and revolves around the sun. They could show me rotation, revolution. They could explain it to me, but when they actually had to show me, they had a lot of misconceptions with that. So it's been awesome to use this technique. In this first example, the students were demonstrating how molecules move in a solid, liquid, and a gas. And this is all through Keynote. I took a screencast of the Keynote presentations to be able to put it in this presentation. But as you click through the slides, the molecules are moving around. And I know it's hard to see that right there, but then they're able to explain it next to it, and we can see it doing it. So I get their explanation and their demonstration. On the next slide, this was an example for rotation of the Earth. And all they do in this technique is you copy the slide, you make the original slide the way you want it, you copy it, and on the next slide, you make any movements that you want, and then you click the effect magic move over on the side. So, you know, a lot of times they like the moves where it comes spinning in or twirling out or fireworks away or whatever, and they'll use those a ton, but this magic move is very effective to demonstrate their point rather than just flashy. So I can see a lot of implications with this throughout social studies to make interactive maps to show how boundaries have changed or how war zones and battle zones have changed. In reading, they could demonstrate what they've learned from reading something and actually bring that reading to life. In math, they could demonstrate a process, how they work through a problem, and they could show how you move the numbers to the other side, show what they've learned and how exactly to do it and what it looks like. So I'll be talking more about this in my session today as well, along with a couple other ways to make models. Thank you.
I'm the kind of person who loves a good infographic. In case any of you are like me, there's this really awesome website out there called Easily. Now, I usually love infographics, except when I'm kind of ashamed of putting them up there for you guys to see. What I did here is I took my paper usage in my classroom last year when I was a reading intervention teacher, and I found out that kids use approximately, or I go through about 2,000 pieces of paper a kid a school year. Now trust me, I'm ashamed to admit that in front of my principal because he might throw something at me. But I took that paper usage and found out that it's pretty average across my school. If we did the math on that, you guys can read this and you can see it if you look it up online. It's about 2,300 reams of paper being used at Freedom in one school year. Now if we're looking at trees, that's only about, 140 trees killed each year by us by using paper. Now I'd love to tell you that I really care about all of those trees, but I don't. It's really about taking a moment and being honest with yourself and changing your teaching. Because what I did when I realized, oh my goodness, I'm using all this paper, I'm so ashamed of this, it wasn't about the paper. It was that I was taking a moment to step back and fall backwards to using that paper. I let myself say, it's good enough to go to the copy machine and make a copy for my students. It's good enough for them to hand the same thing to them every single day. I'm ashamed of that. And I'm terrified to stand up here and say it in front of you, but if you take a look at it and admit it, you're going to change. It's as simple as that. It's not about the paper, it's not about the trees, it's not about what you're doing. It's about taking a moment and looking at your teaching and finding a better way to do it. Here's one example. I have struggled for so long with trying to figure out how to get parent communication up to date or up to the minute parent communication. Okay, we all claim, well, we don't talk to parents because this. I realized that I've been falling back on that too. I don't talk to parents because I wasn't doing enough to talk to them. Okay, it's not the parents' job to seek me out to find out what I'm doing in my classroom. It's my job to go to them and figure that out. Okay, I want to inspire them as much as I want to inspire my students. So I came up with this idea. We all have a site. We all have an e-talk. We all have a homepage. We all have somewhere where we're doing a fantastic job of putting information of what's happening in our classroom into the eyes of our students and our parents. However, we can't figure out that they're actually looking at it. So So what I thought we could do is at the beginning of the school year, take a magnet, take a bookmark, take something that is going to be visible in the house of your students and put a QR code that either reaches your eChalk site, your team page, something. Tell them to take that home, put it on their refrigerator, and check it. Now, instead of having to send home 14 pieces of paper about POMS tryouts or yearbooks or this, everything can go to that QR code. It's a live, ever-changing link. And you can, instead of sending home a piece of paper, send home a note that says, hey, scan that code. They have a device. Almost everyone in the world has a smartphone nowadays. Even though I think flip phones are starting to get smart enough for that. So if you have this and you say, it's on your refrigerator, scan it, look at it, be a part of our classroom. I think that's going to change a lot of things. So if you want to see more about this, I gave a presentation at Illinois State University to students becoming teachers. It was their Teaching in the 21st Century Conference. I have a whole presentation. It's in my presenter's bio. You can look at this. It has this idea and a whole bunch more. But I want to give you this message about going paperless. It is not about getting rid of the paper. It is about getting rid of the past of teaching and going forward.
Hi everybody, I wanted to share with you a web app called ThingLink, and the beauty of this is it's easy. You know, there's all kinds of new technology that comes down the pike, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. Frequently it can be overwhelming, but this is a tool that's super easy to use. And basically what it does is it takes a picture of anything you want and it makes it interactive. Teachers can add content to this. They can add music, they can add movies, you can add web links. And here's an example of how we could do a book trailer, ramping it up a bit to include more interactives.
My book is Veronica Roth, and my book is Divergent. The genre of my book is futuristic.
Okay, and also in here, there are links to a movie trailer for the movie version of the book, the author's Twitter feed, some interview questions with the author's blog, and some quotes from the story. So you can see that this is another good application. It adds another dimension.
About when you have your students do a book talk, who does it get shared with? It gets shared with me as a teacher, and I can make sure that the kids read the book and got something out of it. It might be shared with the classmates, but this is taking it to the next level because ThingLink is a web application. This ThingLink example right here, any ThingLink example will have a URL attached to it, so it can be shared across the school, across the town, across the nation. It's ramping that up a little bit so that collaboration goes on so kids can use it. But another really cool application of this is for teachers. So here's another example on the left of how a teacher used the thing.
So here's a project that Annie Forrest from Freedom did during Hour of Code Week. She had her kids do scratch projects and then share them on a ThingLink. So if I click on a particular student's project, it will load, take it to the project, and then you can view each of the projects. So here's one that a student named Michelle did. You can see that it moves around, you follow the directions, and this is a great way to share projects that your kids have been working on.
So you can see in that example, the teacher added all these little dots onto her ThingLink picture, and each one of those was a link to a kid's project. What a great way to share seamlessly with everyone else in the class. Okay. What can we use this for? Well, we talked about a book talk, really bringing alive book talks. Kids can use them for introductions at the beginning of the year. Here's a picture of me, and there's going to be a link of my favorite music, and the music can play, and a movie of a cool place I visited in the summer, and, you know, let your imagination run wild. It can be used for portfolios, starting at point A. This is where I was at the beginning of the year, and then each time I do another project, you can put a link to what that was. Also, interactive reports. You know, you can have, you can think of sort of like Lobster, but you can add, here's something else. Here's a movie of how the hurricanes work, and here is a sound of a hurricane. And here's the blog if you want to give me feedback on what this report was about. In this screenshot right here, I've included 2 links that you can look at when you're opening up this, look at yourself. One is a tutorial on how to get going on this. And then the second one, where it says click here for ideas, is a link of many, many activities that you can do using ThingLink. A moment ago, I sent everyone from Heritage and Freedom an email that is from a Twitter feed that I got from a lady that works in Oak Park, and she's like the biggest ThingLink guru that I know of. But it takes Martin Luther King Day, and it takes a picture of him, and I want everyone to take a minute to look at this in a few moments. A picture of him in front of his speech, and I know you can't see it from here, but if you hover over the picture, each one of these little things is a link to something that has to do with his speech. There's music, there's a YouTube video, there's a blog. Take a few minutes to explore it and think about how might I use this in my class. The best part of it is that you can share it with everyone else. And it's easy.
Is that automatically